Hi, Dr. Greg Gillum with Human Fusion. Hope you're doing well today. Welcome to part 2 of Are Your Strengths Really Your Weaknesses? By Adam Brandenburger in the August 22nd, 2019 issue of Harvard Business Review. So in the last video, we talked about the traditional SWOT analysis, the strengths and weaknesses largely being an internal type of evaluation, whereas your opportunities and threats, the OT part of the acronym, were really more external. So in this video, we're going to concentrate on turning that upside down and looking at your strengths and your weaknesses in a little bit different way. Let's look at strengths that can actually turn into threats. So the article goes through this idea that was really first presented, I guess, by Dorothy Leonard, who is a Harvard Business School professor. She said an organization's core competencies often harden into core rigidities. All right, let me repeat that. An organization's core competencies often harden into core rigidities. And the article here quotes the Andy Grove book, Only the Paranoid Survive. And he talks about that the company's biggest core rigidity is often their top management, because the skills and the competencies that got them into the C-suite will likely not be the competencies that they need to survive in a world that constantly changes, as it inevitably does, and then therefore they become the exact wrong people to run the organization. Very interesting idea. And then they also talked about how, the taxi industry was so unbelievably powerful. They had a monopoly on that market for decades. And they, because of that monopoly, they ignored customer service, and they ignored technology that could connect potentially the driver with their passengers. And of course, the rest of the story. Uber comes along in 2009 and completely dismantles the taxi industry and turns its strengths into a huge disadvantage. Now let's look at the other part of the internal analysis, and that is looking at your weaknesses, but looking at them as opportunities here. The article gives the example of SpaceX, which of course is competing against Boeing and Lockheed Martin, and it talks about how SpaceX lacked the experience and it lacked the financial capital, and therefore had to become extremely innovative using very what would be considered inexpensive computer electronics in its rocket components, and therefore significantly reduced production cost, and therefore became a very big player now in the space race. So that's looking at your strengths and your weaknesses and kind of turning them on its head. And in the next video, we're going to do that same type of thing with your competitors' strengths and your competitors' weaknesses. Hope you like management-related videos like this. If you do, please subscribe to Human Fusion, and we'll keep you up to date on all the latest trends that are affecting you as a manager and your management practice.